get our Airport Commission meeting started. Roll call, please. Here.
Karen,
Present.
Steve Smith, Jim Mulmer, Joe Gardner. Present. Mike Thomason,
Here.
Mike Goff,
Here. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from our January 16th meeting? Any questions, comments? I'd ask for an approval.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor of approval of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Comments from the audience? Anyone here from the audience that we need to discuss? You're going to be up in just a second. And Mr. Kate, you're up.
I don't have anything. I noticed the delinquent accounts got cleaned up on the spreadsheet. By this time next month, if I've not received payment from the Cowboy Diner, I will have filed for that. For that amount, it's $1,280. I will have filed for that. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I know we've got another restaurant issue today, so.
James, do we know on Manny Gonzalez, looks like we're a couple months behind on those, the last tenant? Are they paying? Have you talked to them?
Matt reached out to him and haven't heard a response back yet.
I put that one on your list, Ernest. It might be the next one. We also, I know in the past we've had, and I want to make sure I understand this, but we have a new lease agreement and we have an old lease agreement. And our stance is that anytime anyone is delinquent or delayed in any way, we move them from the old to the new. So we're watching for that. I know these are not yet dues, but I think in maybe not last month, we didn't meet, month before, there was one that I saw on there that might have been late on it. We're trying to use every opportunity to move those people to the new agreement, right? So, okay.
And I think he's still got a little bit of product in there, and so he will probably be coming back, and Matt's kind of watching for him when he comes back as well to address that. Anything else for Mr. Kate? All right. Ms. Mata, you're up. Thank you for bringing us lunch today. That was really, really good.
Hi, how are you, everybody? Hello, I'm with her to just help her out if she gets stuck in anything. And my name is Jenny, by the way, Jenny Sosa.
Well, we're glad y'all are here.
Thank you.
And we really, or I think I can speak for all of us, we really enjoyed your food that you brought today. Thank you for that.
Thank you. So do you guys have any questions that she could possibly answer for you?
Sure, I bet we have some questions. So first of all, I'm assuming you saw through I don't know if it was through the city website or Facebook or whatever, that the restaurant was coming available. Have you been to the restaurant to see the facilities, the size, and what have you?
Sí, lo sé. Sí, pues contesta. Yes. No sé.
Pues dime, ¿qué quieres decir?
Que sí he ido a verlo. Sí, me gustó mucho. Me enamoré.
She loved it. She's seen the space. She likes everything about it. She thinks she can do really great with that space and turn it into something really good.
Super. What about staff? Do you have staff
¿Ya
in
tienes
place?
personal?
No todo, pero estoy trabajando en eso.
She has most of the staff, and she's working on getting a bit more people situated to get started.
And when were you thinking you'd like to get started?
¿Cuándo te gustaría empezar?
En mayo.
Possibly May.
May 1st.
May 1st sounds like a great date to me. You
Pero
guys,
es que eso había platicado con ellos porque hay que decorar, hay que ver qué necesito.
Just to get all the decoration and all the
Can I-
stuff that she needs to get started. But May 1st sounds like a really good date for her as well.
perfect. Well, we'll get in a little bit deeper with that in just a second to make sure the commission's all on board with that. But we may have some more questions. I've got a couple more in my head as well. From a following or a marketing standpoint, what have you done, or what are your plans to do?
¿Cuáles son tus planes para marketing, para que haya más
Gente,
gente?
pues,
Eres muy conocida por tus pasteles.
pues tengo clientes por el negocio que tuve anteriormente y pues promocionarme en redes y radio.
She's planning to advertise herself in the radio station as well as social media, and she also has a lot of clientele from her bakery. She had a bakery previously, and now she just does it, she does cakes and, for weddings and, quinceañeras. I don't know if you guys have heard what that is. They're big, huge cakes and.
Been to several of them, actually.
They're huge cakes, and so she has a lot of clientele from that, and so she is thinking of advertising herself with all her clientele and knows a lot of people in the area. If you go anywhere with her, you can't walk 2 steps without her saying hi to someone, so she definitely knows a lot of people and will, word of mouth, the radio, and social media.
Perfect. Commissioners, what do you have?
Pues no sé qué más.
I will just ask on the contract side, if we're going to look at a May 1 start date, and she's going to move in, how much time are we going to give her? Or is she going to pay for the moving time in? So if we're doing 15th of April, is that a half month? Or how is that going to be handled? Or are we expecting her on May 1st to move in and set up and be ready to rock and roll?
That's a very good question. Dice que le pregunto a Greg que si
Cleaning from the previous tenant, and then whatever management that got out, we'll have to remove and have it ready for her also.
I think in the past, we've given them some time before we started charging rent, right? So that may mess with your May 1st start date if it takes a while for us to get things cleaned up to where we want you to start with it. But I think that's our general, what we've done in the past is we've given you some free rent for a time period until start date, and then at start date, we've started charging rent. Is that right?
So how long will it take to get it cleaned up and ready for her to come in?
We should be finished, it shouldn't be that long, it's not that bad a shape. So, that'll be.
A month from now, mid-April, would it be cleaned up?
Oh, yeah. It's
Would-
probably a month, to be solid, in case we have to touch up any paint or anything,
le preguntaron bien si cuánto tiempo. Si
So what
tendrías
conveys
que-
with it? Is there furniture that stays with it? I know some of the
Si
quick.
te iban a
Oh,
dar tiempo de entrar antes, si
Okay.
te pagaras renta para que te pudieras
Acomodar.
acomodar.
Sí me van a hacer eso.
Sí, te van a ayudar para que tú puedas entrar sin renta y poder después.
So with the way the kitchen is set up right now, are there any additional pieces of equipment that you want to need to add, or is it set up with everything that you would need right now?
La cocina, ¿cómo está? ¿Te sirve o hay algo que necesitarías que ellos le pusieran o algo que necesitarías que te ayudaran a poner?
Yo pienso que está muy completa, solo lo único que no había es baño María.
Como para vapor.
Ajá.
She said everything she saw there is perfect. The only thing she didn't see was I'm not sure how to translate that, but she's talking about like a steamer maybe, or to
Para
steam
conservar la
food.
comida caliente.
I'm sorry, never mind. To keep food warm. Yes, warming table. I'm sorry, I didn't know how to translate that.
No,
That's the only thing she didn't see that she might need.
And she has plates, silverware, things like that, because those don't come with it.
Platos y utensilios no vienen con el lugar. ¿Tú los tendrías? Yes.
ya los estoy buscando.
She almost has them. She's just looking at the last details for them to see, what she wants exactly, but she's already on it.
So I would think if we're looking a month out, we're middle of April roughly, it's going to be cleaned out and ready to go. So you could come in potentially a couple of weeks early. You'd have to work that out with Matt to make sure everything was cleaned and ready for you. And then that would give, if that were the case, maybe give you a month from, roughly from then, to be open. I mean, as quickly as you could get open, that would be great, but I would like to see maybe a deadline of June 1st to be up and running.
Okay.
And then, is the commission okay with 2 months free, no rent?
Historically, we've done 3, I believe.
3 meses de no renta.
So,
y te darían
April, May,
para abrir como hasta
or
junio primero,
May, June, July?
Te puedan dar un mes para empezar.
Right, okay. So what the commission is proposing is we'll give you free rent for the first 3 months, May, June, and July. So your first rent will be due August 1st.
That works great. She's like, oh, that's nice.
Oh, 1 year.
She's being silly. She's like, oh, 1 year?
Next? No, I'm just kidding.
Next candidate, please.
What other questions do we have for her?
So going back to the warming table, is it something that's going to need additional electrical hookup, or is it something, I have some warming tables that work on the normal outlets. I don't have to have a 220, but I know there's some larger, bigger ones. I'm not sure, are we going to need to do some electrical work, or is this just going to be simply buy warming tables so that she has them available and plug them into existing outlets?
Okay, dice que si, que esta mesa de baño María, si necesitarían ellos meter electricidad para algo más, que necesitaría más como electricidad o una mesa normal, de que ya se podría conectar, no hagas cara que no entiendes, cara que no se podía conectar a la electricidad existente.
No creo. Es como corriente normal.
She thinks it would be just regular,
Yeah.
the electricity that you already have in place.
I would think so. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would think so too. So I see your hours, you proposed 10 to 6, Monday through Saturday, and closed on Sunday. So consistency is key at the airport. When your hours are set, then you have to be there during those hours. You are someone to run the restaurant. So I just want to make sure that we understand that. You can't come and go. If your hours are set 10 to 6, we need you, someone there 10 to 6.
Dice que las horas no son flexibles. Si tú diste este horario, quieren que te estés consistente con esas horas y que te adhieras a esas horas.
Se va a abrir a las 10, pero yo voy a estar antes ahí para preparar todo.
She would open at 10, but it's okay for her to be there earlier, right? To get everything prepared.
We have
in
no
order
problem
to-
with you working overtime. If you want to work early and late, that's no problem at all.
No tienen problema con que trabajes overtime. You can pay yourself overtime.
So I think if you work with Daniel, you'll find that there are certain occasions where we'll have people that really want some things early. I don't know if it's a daily thing, but there may be some opportunities for you to do a 7 a.m. breakfast sandwiches with a bunch of people being there. He sometimes knows when folks are coming in. Sometimes they just come in and they ask, where's the restaurant? And if you're closed until 10, there won't be an opportunity there. But there may be some of that. So just keep that in mind, that there may be some opportunities to have some earlier openings on days that when he knows there's going to be a lot, like basketball or football games, there's a lot of traffic depending on what time the games are, that could drive that as well. So as long as these are the minimum hours, you can extend either way as you need to.
Okay, que puedes. Actually, she had mentioned that for now she wanted to do those hours, but if, once clientele starts coming in, she would like to open a little earlier for breakfast. She had mentioned that.
Coming
too.
soon.
Coming
breakfast.
soon, yeah. Once she has more clientele, and definitely she's open to that. We had talked about that previously. Dice que sí, a veces va a haber tiempos que va a haber gente que van a querer breakfast, que si tú tendrías una oportunidad de abrir más temprano y tener como breakfast sandwiches o cosas así.
Sí, pero quiero acomodarme primero para organizar todo yo bien y
Fue
poder
lo que
abrir
les
de-
expliqué.
de-
Yeah, she's telling me exactly what I just told you. She's like, I just want to make sure that I have some hours set for now, and then absolutely she wants to take the opportunity if it comes to her.
And if you're opening for Razorback games, you don't have to do anything special because they're used to losing anyway, so.
Go raise your
I,
bags now.
let me, shut my mic
Easy.
off. I'll ask James, I'll follow up with one thing with James. On the warming trays, would that be something that we would go ahead and purchase and make sure that the wiring is done properly? Or would we just make sure that the wiring is done properly?
I was told to move to the mic.
Oh, okay.
Come on over.
Yeah, any new equipment that they need for the restaurant, they can bring it in, and then we'll make sure it's all set up to where it's hooked right.
I have warming tables at my house, and we did dedicated service for each one of them because they draw so much. So that's my question about if we've got an outlet that's already been split into three so that we have everything, that we just may have some issue. That may be a hiccup with that. So even if they are 110, that they're still going to really draw some amperage.
Right.
We've had issues, so we have to end it.
The power supply is right outside the kitchen door, so it's real easy to do that suspended ceiling.
Está bien. Ya. Pero como dijo, si necesitaba algo, pues dije de una vez que la pongo.
Do you plan on applying for like beer, wine license at all?
¿Estás pensando aplicar para una licencia de alcohol?
Pues me gustaría, si puedo.
Yes,
Sería muy buena opción.
she would love to. You know, it definitely draws a little more people in.
Ujú.
Yes, she would like to do that. Coming soon. Yes.
Okay, I'd ask for a motion.
I'd make a motion to accept Yolabel Mata as our new tenant for the restaurant. With 3 months, zero rent, beginning the 15th of April. Modified to April 1st.
Have a motion?
I'll second.
And a second. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Thomason,
Yes.
Collier,
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Chardon,
Yes, ma'am.
Goff,
Yes.
Motion passes. Congratulations. We look forward to working with you.
So if you're having issues or problems, certainly work with these gentlemen or
They've
feel
been
free to
very
come back
helpful.
and talk to us. We just
Yes.
don't want something to happen and get too far. We like to know what's going on. So
Absolutely.
where you don't have these are the individuals that you can
Dice
talk
que
to
cualquier
easily.
cosa te refieras a ellos con cualquier cosa que
Yes, I
necesites.
know.
They've been very helpful.
Yes.
Absolutely helpful. So, diles muchas gracias.
Pues,
So does someone have your contact information? Does James have? Okay.
Diles muchas gracias.
pues muchas gracias por todo y por esta oportunidad. Y
No los voy a decir. Thank you so much for the opportunity. You guys will not be let down. She looks forward to doing this. It's been one of her longtime dreams to run a restaurant. She actually had contemplated a food truck, but when she saw this opportunity, she's been over the moon trying to get in there. So she's very, very happy and she won't disappoint you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for
We
coming.
really
Thanks for
appreciate
bringing
you.
Thank you.
lunch
Thank
for us,
you.
too.
Thank you. There's more out there if you want some more.
Thank you.
All right, Matt, with operations report.
So everything's going good at the airport, minus with some few damages from the wind. We've just had to reattach a few panels to some hangars out there. Been working with the landscaping crew from Public Works. We're gonna try to do kind of renew flower beds out around the terminal and out there on this side of Powell Street. And with the tenant rent, everyone's been contacted. I'm just waiting to hear back from the clerks on that.
Any questions for Matt?
Runway, how's all that going? Grooving?
We'll
Oh.
address that here in just. All right, James, activity report. Oh, no.
that's why I didn't think he was coming.
Yeah, let's do, and as a matter of fact, that reminds me too, we can talk about it when you get up there. We had talked last month or 2 months ago about having the April meeting at the airport.
Yeah,
Or perhaps you could get with, what's her name again? Get with her
Yeah.
about lunch and,
She's not going to be open until May. Maybe we push it back instead of her not even being open and setting us
brought
up.
lunch here.
yeah. I'll get contact info and then reach out to her and see if we can't collaborate, just to have something there.
And I'm not asking her to do that for free.
Okay. Okay, all right. We'll pass that on. Yeah, we'll make something happen. That'll be easy. Okay, yep, so, numbers down drastically. I think it was one of the biggest drops that we've seen in a winter in quite a while. But if you look at the graph on the second page, you can kind of see historically, like it is lower for sure. And then, of course, we all experienced the weather in February, so we sort of know why we were down so much, especially with the GA traffic. Snow and ice tends to keep the planes away. So it was a big drop. Trying to stay busy at the airport with us, just trying to make sure everything's in order. Basically, we're sweeping hangars and doing a little bit of maintenance on the trucks while we're waiting around. Hopefully this month will be a little bit better. We've kind of had the wind for the last few days, but so far sales have been pretty comfortable. I don't know if we'll beat last year, but hopefully we'll be pretty close. We're getting a lot of people coming in that still think that the restaurant is there. So hopefully for her, now that I know she's going to be going in there and I know the dates, I can start communicating that to everybody who's walking in from the street and also my regular guys that are coming in on the ramp side as well. We've had a lot of people who've been pretty disappointed that there's not a food option there. So that'll be good news for them. That'll start getting everybody's attitude kind of turning around a little bit for the airport. Not that there's a bad attitude, but it'll just be a positive thing. Yes.
If I may, real quick, this makes me think of something. He's talking about communication. Who do we have that is a communication director for the city of Springdale? Somebody that handles all the social media, that kind of stuff, that this type of stuff can be fed to?
I send her stuff periodically. I don't really follow up to see that anything has been posted, but I send things to her.
Very good. Yeah, I'm just thinking, you're talking about you communicating specifically to people, but I think we should actually be able to get it over to Ms. McKinney and make sure that she communicates it through all of her social media channels too.
That'd be great, especially for local. And then I can use my social media stuff, which is not a huge following. It's mainly people who've come in before, but at least they're hearing of it.
And really, for that matter, probably wouldn't be a bad idea with a tripod downstairs maybe, coming soon, this restaurant. And I was also thinking, we can get to it in a minute with Greg, but I was thinking along those same lines with the grooving of the runway, and it's not 100% right now. Something to the effect of, bear with us during our construction process, beautifying the airport, something like that, to where if someone flies in that doesn't know us, they realize, oh, well, they're in the middle of construction here.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, we can handle that. That's not a problem. I'll talk to her about if she can get me a poster or something that we can put out there on a nice poster board and just start making it a little bit more visible rather than word of mouth. So, yeah. I don't think I have anything else unless you got any more questions.
You heard anything from the National Guard?
Not a thing. I haven't reached out to them in over a month now, but I'll do that this afternoon or tomorrow.
Just wait on you reaching out. Initially, March 31st was what they had blocked.
Oh, okay.
So we're getting close. I don't want to push.
Mhm. Yeah.
And Joel can attest to this, I'm sure. These guys are pretty regimented about their calendar. I feel like they're going to at least let us know something.
Okay. Yeah. And any of my communications that I have with them is only, hey, we're here if you need anything. Just, we haven't forgotten about you, and let us know if there's anything we can give you.
Yeah, I would expect that our position is in the hurry up and wait position.
Yeah.
All of your construction projects, are those all completed?
Not yet. The hangar's still incomplete. I'm trying to get that done. The guy who is helping us out with that is an older gentleman. He's not been taking the winter very well. Craftsmanship is great, but he works on his own time. So I'm going to see about taking some of those projects over so I can start getting things finished for us.
Do we want to move our meeting there back a month to May? To make sure everything is, because I'd like to have everything completed.
If you want to do May, I think I know we'll be in a hangar, but April tends to be rainy, stormy historically for us. May is when it really starts warming up nicely, but it's not too hot to actually be out in the hangar yet. So I think May would be a great month. That'd be my choice. But it's
Let's
whatever
do
you guys
that.
want to do.
And to Micah's point, that'll give her a little more time to get settled too.
Yeah, perfect. All right, that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Daniel. James?
Yes, to follow up on what Daniel was saying, as far as our counts go, last year we had a record year, the year before we had a record year. So the feds did a restudy of our BCI count, which is our tower cost share. And that number has changed and went up. So the feds are now gonna pay 100% of our tower cost sharing. So normally we've been paying $5,440 a month. So as of May 1st, it'll be 100% covered by the feds. So that'll save us roughly $65,000 a year in tower operations.
Does that fall into the 2025 federal fiscal year or 2026?
2025.
So remind me of the history on this. Other airports had their towers shut down during some sequester, and we were absent from that because we were still providing half ourselves. Do you remember that several years ago? Is this going to change us into a class that if we have a cut down, then?
No,
Okay.
this is all based on our operations. So honestly, if you look how the FAA justifies, there's no way you could calculate it unless you're a rocket scientist. Me and Wyman tried to figure it out, and we debated it with them, and they couldn't even tell us. So all this does is upgrade our classification so that now the feds cover it 100%, but we're still a cost-sharing tower.
That was because that saved us once before.
Yes. Well, now the feds are even looking at upgrading all their FAA reps, so, they're gonna be hiring a lot more people because they're short-staffed.
Just based off of the work that I do in the Department of Transportation, if there is a federal pause, partial government shutdown, that type of thing, we would be reliant on ourselves to make sure that all of the bills got paid, and then we could go back and say, oh, when it's open, now we can go ahead and ask for that money back.
Sorry. I've already reached out to our tower company and sent her all the information, so they're aware as of May 1st of this year, then feds are paying it 100%.
Hey, James, how often do they do that study? And
Annually.
annually? Okay.
And I think from our conversation, as long as things continue as they are now, we'll continue to get that 100%.
Correct. Yeah, because they've shown it out several years in the future, and it's all 0, 0, 0, 0.
Key card access. You were going to get some quotes for us?
Yes, we was looking at those, and roughly somewhere between 5 and 10,000, depending on what you wanted. 5 being you have to go to each keypad to enter the new card. And then the 8 plus was digital, where you'd have to have Wi-Fi at every station and then pay $15 a keypad to be able to enter the cards, to be able to have Wi-Fi at every location. So it'll be $45 a month to have Wi-Fi at every gate.
On the Wi-Fi thing, I had a conversation with a guy that's kind of what he does, and apparently there has been a big improvement in extenders. Less than $500, you can get one that will extend your Wi-Fi signal for 5 miles on flat ground. So I know in the past, we've had some issues with getting cameras to places and maybe extending it to Hangar 11 that we were having troubles. We were actually gonna run a hard wire because of your self-pay, and we were having troubles with getting Wi-Fi out there. We might look at that if we're gonna do any kind of upgrades with that. We might look at trying to find an extender that would maybe cover our entire airport. 'Cause
Right.
those have become much, much more affordable than they were back when we were looking at that.
Yeah, your other issue is line of sight. So from the tower to Powgate, you can't see it because of hangars and buildings. So there's your extender issue. You'd actually have to have a hard wire to that. Now, the two by the tower would probably both work fine off the tower or the terminal, but the Powgate would not.
So he was wiring up race car tracks, road courses with hills, and said that he could put an extender in the center of the race car track that would cover a 5-mile circle around it. So it didn't mean a lot of line of sight. I think the technology just has come like kind of around for it. So we might look into it again at some point.
Okay.
I know I'd asked, and I don't know where we ended with it, but I had some concerns about security, and I know that we have a couple of our gates that we have cameras and we're able to tell information on them. We have a couple of them that maybe aren't as recorded or observed. Wanted to try to talk through that again and see where what your thoughts were on, like, I think we should hire someone other than an eye doctor to decide where we put the cameras to figure out how we can be safe and where our vulnerabilities are. I don't know what the cost for that would be, but maybe Greg can help us with some grants or something that we could do that could maybe pay for a consultant to come in and say your vulnerabilities are here, and this is where high traffic areas where you should have restricted access, and other areas where a fence is fine. I'm sure there's people out there that understand that better than I would. So I'm just thinking we should, because security is something we need to be thinking about. Busiest airport in the state of Arkansas. I want to make sure that we don't have some like, what do you mean we didn't have anything covered, and we have some event happen. I don't even know what events we're preparing for, but just want to make sure we're not acting on it.
Right. Well, being the busiest airport in the state of Arkansas, we are one of the only ones that's fully fenced. So we are taking security serious, but I don't have a problem doing other studies if y'all choose to do so.
I mean, I feel like we've got James and we've got Matt who know that airport like the back of their hand. I feel like maybe not right off the cuff, but you guys could take a little time, do a little research, and come back to us and say, if we are vulnerable in any places, this is where I see, or I don't see anything, whatever, and not try to get a grant or not come out of pocket to pay for some consultant to tell us something that these guys could tell us.
We added a new camera on the tower, and before it was just a single camera. This one has 5 cameras, so they're aimed at 5 different locations. So they can see the taxi lane off of Powell Street, they can see the tower, they can see the ramp, they can see the parking lot. And then there's one camera that you can move around, and it records on any movement. So if we do have a problem, the camera is gonna pick them up. But as far as where we're not secure, you get one pilot to drive through the gate and don't wait, and that gate takes forever to close, somebody follows right behind them. But Matt knows that if he sees somebody wandering around that doesn't look like they know where they're at, hey, what are you doing? Who are you? So we take it very serious.
And I appreciate that, and I understand where you're going with this too, but also, and this is, well, let me just finish my thought. So I don't know that we've had any problems. That doesn't mean we're not going to have problems. I get that, and that's your point. I know. I just don't know that we need to spend extra money on something like that when we can get these guys to do, I think, due diligence and be able to let us know if we do have a problem. Matt, are you comfortable with the fencing, the airport, and so forth from the outer perimeters?
Yes, so far, like I said, since I've been there, I haven't had any issues with anyone trying to get in. Down on that northeast corner, I mean, where they had just that retention pond was there, at that housing, there were some kids that was just by the gate. But we have the, James, what are those called? the bars we put down in there for that drainage. It's blocked off. It's where the drainage is, so no one's gonna be able to just crawl under the fence or anything like that, so we feel pretty comfortable with it.
I think this whole conversation started because somebody's car got vandalized or something, and we were
Someone's
concerned.
car got vandalized and someone was snooping around a gate trying to see how if they could get under the gate and messing with the gate. That's why we started this conversation. So we
Is
have
that the
had
same
people.
person, or was that?
No, we don't know who did the slashing of the tires, but they never figured out. Remember the story? It's been 2 months ago, but somebody was messing around trying to see if they could fit under a gate or using their foot and kicking, maybe, I don't know.
It looked like a homeless guy in the terminal, and when he walked out, we kind of watched him, he kind of walked over to the north gate, and he just didn't look like he fit, so. That's why we watch and make sure people don't walk straight through the terminal and go straight through the automatic doors out on the ramp. We have warning signs everywhere, don't get out on the movement area. And so we just have to do our due diligence to make sure that we don't have people where they're not supposed to be.
Did we ever find anything out was it your employee that his car was vandalized? It wasn't?
It was Allen's.
It was ours. It was Matt's guy.
Did we ever find anything out on that?
No, sir.
No, there was no camera that faced his truck.
We have cameras now on are there 4 gates, 4 drive-through gates?
There's 3 public as far as keypad gates. And then we have all the gates that's private on the other side, and then we have multiple gates that the FAA use, and then we have our gate that goes to our shop. But those all stay padlocked.
So of the 3 that are public use, we have cameras on those 3.
We have cameras in that direction. I can't really see Powell Street until they clear all those hangars, because it's all blocked by the hangars. But once they get past the hangars or get on that taxi lane towards the tower, they're visible.
So when you say Powell Street, just south of the main entrance?
Yeah, that automatic gate right there. So if somebody comes through that, I can't see them until they get past the last hangar there.
The new one being built in the corner? Because
No.
we have ours that we built several years ago, then Jeff Mann, and then.
Milestone hangar. There's 3 in a row. There's our hangar, then there's 2 other land lease hangars, so right there at the corner.
Is there no internet options right there on our hangar that, where those 2 front offices are on that Powell Street? Is that the one you're talking about?
The city has no internet there.
It has no internet there.
Just
That's
at
what
the
I'm saying
tower.
about the extender,
That's
is
what I'm
that it'll
thinking,
cover
too. That would be
miles
easy.
for couple $100. It would cover all of that. We'd be able to extend. I don't know how secure it is.
Without that, we ought to be able to come right off the corner of that building and have a straight shot at that gate.
Matt has a laptop because IT couldn't get him, IT could not get him Wi-Fi to his office there on Powell Street. So he has a hotspot on his phone now to use his laptop.
Wow.
It's city security issue. They don't want just anybody to be able to hack into their system.
He seems sketchy.
He does.
I guess I'm just not understanding that. Even with that being said, a city issue, we couldn't tie in to the internet at that building to run a camera off to show that gate?
Saying. That's
We
what
don't
he's
have
saying.
internet there.
That's just, and I'm saying an extender added to it, we could have our whole internet net all over the entire airport and then some. Jones Center being our window. And we could have any kind of wireless camera set right there. I mean, from a security standpoint, I think it makes a lot of sense to have access, have the Springdale Police Department, because they're basically our security when these guys are not there, have access and the ability to look at cameras too. And if someone's messing with the gate, then they can tell them. We haven't had a lot of those issues, but
I can get a price and see what IT does and get your price for setting it up if that's what you like.
I would also take a look at some type of satellite communication for internet service or whatever for the camera system, because if that's an issue there and it's cheaper to do a satellite phone type of connectivity, I'd go for something like that.
Yeah, we were paying $400 a month to have a cell service at the AWAS, just for a rain gauge. And then we was paying $400 a month cell service in the tower that we didn't know what it was for. So both of those got canceled.
$500 extender covers 5 square miles. Like, it seems really simple. I don't, maybe there's some security issues and maybe allowing it to be out like that, maybe that reduces some of the security. But like, it sounds like this is a simple solution. It's gonna get rid of a whole bunch of different things.
Unless the metal building's affected, I don't know.
There are metal buildings all around the racetrack. Maybe. Yeah, if you'll check and see if we can't get an extender that can cover all of that, then we could immediately have the wireless over the entire airport. And then we can look at all the other things we might be paying monthly services for that we can get rid of right away.
And extended more cameras. Anything else for James? Thank you, James. Greg's chomping at the bit. He's been up here for 30 minutes, ready to go.
Sorry, James, I didn't mean to interrupt you in the middle of that, so I was just trying to make sure I could get this set up. Okay, so for my update today, we've got 3 active projects: the runway rehab project, the tower rehab, and then also the Powell Hangar project. So I'll start with the runway project since Cameron was asking about it. So if you remember, this is a 90-10 grant, 90% FAA, 10% state. So 100% of it will be funded by non-City of Springdale funds. We're about halfway, a little over halfway through construction. We've had 9 of our 15 nightly closures so far. Most of those were about 2 weeks ago. We kind of had a 2-week period where we closed the airport for 2 weeks in a row, just nights. And once again, we're avoiding weekends because that's another high traffic time as well. So we're trying to keep it between Monday and Thursday. For those first 2 weeks, what we did is we sealed the cracks and then installed grooves on the runway. And I've got some pictures of those here. So you can kind of see on the left and right here, these are cracks on the runway, so I don't know how riveting these are going to be. But on the left is what the crack looks like before we get to it. And that's kind of after. What we do is we take the existing crack, we widen it out a little bit so that we can put our crack sealant in, and it has a nice vertical face to connect to. So kind of clean up the cracks, and then we seal the cracks. And you can notice that we leave the sealant a little bit below the surface here, just so that whenever planes come, they don't pick it up and create FOD issues as well. So we're trying to keep that below the surface. And another advantage to that is once we get down to the grooving, it kind of keeps the grooving machine from gumming up as well. And so this is what the grooving machine looks like. Like I mentioned, the grooving on the runway has been completed. They actually started with 2 crews, one on the north end, one on the south end, and worked their way to the middle. They do about 3 feet at a time and take their machine and go 3 feet across the runway and then move up, and they do that for a mile for the whole runway. So it took 6 nights just to groove the runway there. And so I don't know if this picture is going to show it very well, but you can see some of the grooves on the bottom there. But the whole runway is grooved, and you'll see a bunch of crack sealant as well, kind of working its way through the markings. And so that's what Greg was talking about is right now that the runway is a little bit ugly because our markings are going to be a little bit marred from that grooving operation, and then also from us widening and adding crack sealant. They're going to be a little messed up. The FAA we're still perfectly compliant with FAA standards. We've communicated that was going to be part of the process with them, so they're fine with that. So next steps, we have probably another 2-week closure window coming up about a month from now where we will seal coat and then remark the runway. And that'll be another instance of we're going to work probably from the south end of the runway, working our way north, where you'll see the currently gray asphalt's going to slowly turn black, a fifth of the runway or a fourth of the runway at a time. And so that's going to be another instance of it's going to be ugly for probably that 2-week period. And then That will conclude most of our construction, but what happens with that seal coat that we're gonna put on is it'll cure, and a lot of that black asphalt material will come up through the white markings. Black and white, what'll end up happening is the markings will get ugly. And so probably at the end of May, maybe beginning of June, we'll come back and do a final marking after that asphalt's cured, after all that oil is out of that seal coat, and come back with a nice, pretty marking. And that's when everything will look nice and pretty again. So bear with me for 2 more months. We're not gonna be working for 2 months, but it's gonna be a 2-month-long process to have the asphalt cure and get these guys out there. Any questions about the runway grooving so far?
I think yesterday was telling me that you had talked to someone that said their plane slowed down so much faster. Is that you and I talking?
Yes, that was. And I don't know if I'm gonna be the best person to think on this. Maybe Cameron or Daniel could touch on it. I just know one of my coworkers is a student pilot, and he said he noticed on his first landing that it helped him slow down a lot faster. But I'm not a pilot, so I don't necessarily want to talk on it. Cameron, have you heard anything? Or
I haven't heard anything yet, but, you know, it creates more friction, you know, obviously on the tires, and that's why it slows down faster. So, but I'll definitely ask my team. We just haven't been able to fly much here lately because of the weather. So I'll ask them to, and I can give you some feedback in our next meeting.
right.
Bet we really see in rain and snow, I bet you really see a lot from that.
Correct. And then once we get the seal coat on it, that seal coat has some sand in it as well. And so that friction should increase again after that point. So it'll be
When's the seal coat going then?
in about a month. Right now, we're
Okay.
working through the exact window that we want to put it on.
Okay.
But they're thinking no earlier than April 15th or 16th. But I'll coordinate that closure with everyone probably 2 weeks ahead of time. Any questions about the runway project? Awesome. Moving on to the tower project. This one, not a whole lot of movement on this one. If you remember, we've got a 100% grant from the FAA for this. The contractor has been working on getting material ordered and getting his subcontractors in line, but we're finally going to be able to start pulling cable and start construction on this next Monday. They've got it scheduled and got their equipment on the way, and so that'll start next Monday. The plan is to kind of do half of the tower at a time so that we can keep Mike and all of his guys up there operational and stay out of the way. And so it's a 90-day or a 3-month construction window that we have, but we're not going to be working for 90 days straight because some of the things it's going to be, working for a week at a time to get the cabinets in, and then maybe working downstairs, pulling cable and installing equipment. So we should be able to stay out of Mike's way for the most part. And then one last thing on this tower program, just to remind you all, is that we are going to try to spend all of the FAA money that we can now, and then we have that state money as well, kind of on the side. And the plan is to, with the unknowns of what's behind the walls, what's in the ceiling of this tower project, if anything comes up, I'm kind of holding that state grant as a contingency budget. Once we get to the end of the project, if we do have $100,000 left over, that's when we're going to look at getting Mike some things like a backup generator, maybe some new lights, some other new equipment if possible. So this 90-day period will then lead to probably another 60-day construction window afterwards.
Is the HVAC going to be in the first phase?
So the FAA would not fund the HVAC, so that'll have to be the state grant. But we're hoping that we're hoping that the issue is with the cabinetry. The cabinetry is the existing cabinetry is what the HVAC kind of runs through, some of the walls and cabinetry there. So we're hoping that this first phase will fix it. And then we're also going to relocate the thermostat, which should help with the temperature monitoring. So if those two things fix it, great, we won't touch it. If they don't fix it, then we'll look at spending some of that second phase of the project money on that. Okay. Any other questions about the tower? Perfect. Okay. Moving on to the hangar project. You guys are all familiar with this one. We do not have the certificate of occupancy yet. Over the last 2 to 3 weeks, we've been having our final inspections with the city and the utility departments. We have passed all of those final inspections. Now what we're waiting for is final paperwork to sign over the water line. Needs to get signed over to Springdale Water. and then also making sure that all of the subcontractors and contractors are paid. And so as of yesterday, I think we got all of the checks sent off to the city. City needs to send those checks out to the contractor, and then we'll have to sign some forms to make sure everyone's paid. After everyone's paid and assign the forms, we'll be able to get our certificate of occupancy. Talking with James, with the city issuing those checks, either probably this Friday, I'm expecting an April 1st date for that certificate of occupancy. But all the construction is wrapped up on the hangar building. It's ready to go, just waiting on this documentation.
And Matt, do you have them ready to go April 1st?
Yes.
It's Tommy Lee.
Okay. Any other questions about the hangar project or any other ongoing projects or future projects?
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you, Greg.
Yep, thank you.
Any old business? Comments from commissioners? Thanks for being here today. We're adjourned.